What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. We thank you guys for tuning in on this great sunny Friday, even though you're waking up to another Nuggets loss. We'll get to that. But hopefully you guys have had a great week starting into the weekend. But before we get to the Nuggets and their debacle, we got to talk about Deshaun Watson. Could he be the future quarterback of the Denver Broncos? Obviously, for those of you who don't know, the rumors were swirling around yesterday that he is unhappy with the Texans right now, specifically because he wanted input in the hiring of the GM, the new coach, all that stuff. And of course, the Texans didn't give him that. They went out and hired a new GM without consulting him. Not necessarily mad at the GM, just mad at how things are going with Houston, and they're not keeping him in the loop. I guess he also didn't really have much input in the DeAndre Hopkins trade. That just kind of happened, and they notified him. So things aren't going well for Deshaun Watson in Houston. He hasn't officially asked for a trade or anything like that, but Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport were reporting last night that he is unhappy. So naturally, the NFL world went crazy, and every team that needs a quarterback, I mean, you could go to the comments of some of those reports from Schefter and Rappaport, and there's photoshops of him in a Niners uniform, him in a Bears uniform, him in a Broncos uniform. It's hilarious. So naturally, the rumors started swirling. Well, should the Broncos be interested? Should they kick the tires on that? And I'm just here to say, yes. Yes, they should. Now, will the Texans do it? Probably not. But if you have your quarterback and he's not extremely happy to be there, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing to take a call from a team that's in the top 10 of the NFL draft this year and grab a haul. Now, the worst thing is you're giving up a legitimate top 5 quarterback right now at the age of 25 who's under contract, so that's going to suck. But, I mean, if he's unhappy and he doesn't want to be there, can you really force the guy to be there? And now's the time to capitalize on all that. You could possibly get, one of these younger guys, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. Unlikely you'll get Trevor Lawrence unless he somehow drops and Jacksonville doesn't take him. But I mean, if there was any year to, I guess, trade your quarterback, I guess it's this year where there's some good prospects coming out. But I think, yes, the Broncos should at least, at the bare minimum, kick the tires on this Deshaun Watson thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I'll say to that, to play kind of devil's advocate. Yes, everything you said about the Broncos is true. And if you're looking at it from Deshaun Watson's point of view, you're like, well, and all the things you listed, no GM, the ownership situation, which will get solved within the next year, though. We do know that. And then the team has been struggling, but he did recently follow a lot of Denver Broncos, current and former, on Instagram lately, I guess. I saw that on Twitter, so take that for what you will. But I'll say this. If you're Deshaun Watson, what teams are most likely to trade for you, if any? It's teams that are at least in the top 10 of the NFL draft, right? I mean, because those are the teams that are going to have a top pick now, and they'll give first rounds later. If you're Houston, you're not going to trade with a team that's in the teens or the 20s or 30s. Well, yeah, I get that, but well, then at that point, I guess he's just going to have to just suck it up, because I think he does have leverage to a point. Well, no. I mean, technically not, because he's under contract and he eventually he can get fined for not showing up. So, exactly, I get that. But I'm saying, as as much, well, he controls it to an extent. I mean, as much leverage as he does have, listen, if you're Houston, you're not going to take I'm not hearing anybody's offer outside of 10. So that's just not going to happen. I probably wouldn't even hear anybody's offer outside of 5, to be quite honest with you. But my point in all this is that if you're Houston, you're taking those calls. So yes, he can say, okay, I have the no trade clause. I don't want to go to Jacksonville. I don't want to go to the Jets. But if the Broncos come calling, I would say I'd be more likely to want to go play for the Broncos than the Jets or Philly. I mean, I guess Philly would be a decent option for him, but I would think the Broncos have more options or more weapons than a Philadelphia. I mean, the Denver Broncos easily have talent to be a top 10 offense, and I think that's enticing for him. And they have a defense that, even though they blow late leads, they've shown promise here and there. So my point is I think that out of the top 10 of teams, those teams that would be looking to draft a quarterback, Jacksonville, the Jets, possibly Atlanta. I mean, you can include Miami. Maybe Miami's the most attractive out of all of them. But then again, I mean, we don't know if Miami's willing to move off of Tua or what they're going to do with that number 3 pick. So I think that Denver would be an attractive option out of those teams. I get what you're saying. He has the no trade clause and he determines it. But at the end of the day, he's not like going into the last year of his deal. So if he's like, no, I want to go to a team that's outside of the top 10, well, if you're Houston, you have the leverage of, okay, well, you're still under contract. So yeah, it would suck that you don't want to play for us, but we could just fine you if you just want to sit out. You'll just lose that salary. So then it's on him, because we see players, they play this let's hold out game, but then when it comes to actually, holding out for a full season, the only person we saw do that was Le'Veon. But you lose an entire year of salary. So if you're willing to risk that, okay, that's fine. But I don't think he would be willing to do that in a sport where your career is very short at times. It could end at any moment. I think they both have leverage. Now, Deshaun has more, but I think his leverage has a ceiling. It's not exponential. It's not infinite. So it's an interesting situation for both sides. Now, it's like you said earlier, it's highly unlikely that he even gets traded at all. But if you're the Broncos, at the very least, like, you would be doing yourself a disservice by not checking to see, what would this cost? Obviously, at the bare minimum, it's going to cost 3 first rounders. It would have to. And you probably have to part with one of those with Drew Lock, obviously, but I think we'd be fine with that. And maybe even a young offensive weapon, I would think too. You would have to.
But if I there's look there's if you want to go out and get a current NFL quarterback right now, that's someone not in the draft, the Broncos should only be looking at Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, and that's about it. I would say those are the only two as far as for sure replacing Drew Lock, right? If you want to bring in competition and a solid backup, maybe a guy like Andy Dalton, Tyrod Taylor, someone like that. And then there's, if you want to throw in Matthew Stafford would be just a bad decision in my opinion, or Matt Ryan. But like there's tiers. Like I would be very happy with Deshaun Watson or a Dak Prescott, right? Then there's tier 2. Well, option 2 in my mind would be the draft. Then option 3 would be going out and getting a veteran that can just at least help Drew in some possible way. We all know that Drew Luck's probably going to miss a couple games because he's probably going to get hurt. So at least that's what his history is telling us. So you have to prepare for that. You can't just be like, oh no, he'll be fine. He's healthy. You cannot say that. So you do have to go out and get someone. Andy Dalton has played really well in Dallas. Obviously he didn't play well last week. He played fine, but his hand got stepped on and injury and whatever. But I think as a backup, he's a pretty good backup, and he will at least push Drew Lock to where if Drew Lock is playing like crap and you're right there and you're in games, then you should probably put Andy Dalton in there. One thing that Andy Dalton hadn't been doing in Dallas was turning the ball over. So he was at least putting them in positions to win games. But that's option 3, and that's option 4 is you just go with Drew Lock and you don't go out and get anyone. Yeah, and you just whatever backups they have, that's what they're gonna roll with, and probably gonna have the same thing happen this year or next year as what happened last year. So those are the options. Again, I don't think option 1 is likely. I don't think Deshaun Watson will be available, and I don't think Dak Prescott will be available.
Yeah, I'm kind of opposed to the bringing in the seasoned vet move. We've tried that a couple times, and it obviously hasn't worked out the way we wanted it to.
I'm saying that guy as a backup though, to at least help Drew.
Yeah, sure, if you want to bring in like an Andy Dalton, whatever. But as like the I'd be fine with Matthew Stafford. I think I'm a little bit higher on that move than you are, but I'm not like over the moon about it. That's not my first choice. Honestly, I don't know where I'm at with what the Broncos are. It just, we talked about this on the last episode. It's just backwards, because it's like, why wouldn't you just wait a year, one more year to do this? I just don't understand it.
To do what?
I just don't get why you just wouldn't wait a full year, because Elway's contract is going to be, he'll be fully gone. Ellis already came out and said he's not looking for renewal of his deal after this season, which his contract is up. You'll have 3 years of a sample size with Vic Fangio, and you can, if the new GM, if you waited a full year, didn't like Fangio, he could just get rid of. You could just start fresh. You could just do it 100%
okay,
fresh.
But what are your options next year? That's the problem.
Well, okay, but it just doesn't make sense.
This
because
is
you're bringing in a new GM and you're holding guys over, and now it's just like you said it.
But
none of to reset, but without resetting, it just doesn't make sense.
I understand that, but at the same time, when you have an opportunity to go out and get a really good quarterback, whether it's in the draft or whatever, if you have a chance to get that guy, and you believe that guy is gonna be, he's gonna put you in position to compete with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, those guys in the AFC with those teams, if there's a guy in the draft or wherever or free agency and you don't try to go after one of those guys, or if they are there when you are picking and you pass up on that guy, that is you cannot do that. You can't pass up on that guy. And I just I understand, and I was on your side as far as you can't take a quarterback in this situation. But I also didn't know or think that Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson were as good as they were. And if one of those guys are at 9, or you have an opportunity to trade up, I think you have to do that. If Dak Prescott's available for whatever reason, maybe Dallas just loves one of these quarterbacks. Maybe they love, Mac Jones or Trey Lance, or they trade up to get Zach Wilson. Then you have to go for Dak Prescott no matter what situation you are in. The same with Deshaun Watson. So it's a quarterback-driven league. You need the core. That is piece number 1. And if you don't have that piece, nothing else is going to fall into place. And
I understand all that. I'm just saying, I just wish they would have just clean sweeped everything, or just wait a year. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying don't go after a court. I'm just saying it made more sense to just ride it out with everybody for one more year, but they don't do that. And then it's like, okay, we're going to make a little bit of change. Well, if you're going to make a little bit of change, why not make the entire change? Fire the coach, get a new GM, let him get his coach, then go after a quarterback. I just don't understand taking one step but not taking 2 steps. Like you're putting one foot out there. Well, instead of dipping the toe in the pool, let's just get in the pool. Let's just do it. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm with you. If there's a guy that they love, go and get him. Okay, if you love him, then go get him. But obviously, this means nothing, or this means very bad things for Drew Lock. He's in a world of trouble. You had Vic Fangio say, "Yeah, I think he could be a starting quarterback, and yeah, he could be the starter next year." And then
I don't think he is.
Well, right, and they asked Vic Fangio the other day, well, do you think the new GM will have restraints, like he has to start Drew? Oh, no, he can do whatever he wants. So yeah, he could be the starter next year, but the new GM he doesn't have to keep Drew if he doesn't want to. And that should tell people, like all the people that were like Team Drew Lock and they love him. This should tell you right here they don't really love him as much as people want them to love him.
Well, they never loved him.
And they never have.
Yeah, they would have taken him at pick, 10 or whatever they have, 15?
Yes, they wouldn't have traded back to 20, and they wouldn't have taken Noah Fant first, and they wouldn't have taken Dalton Reisner first in the second round if they loved Drew Lock. They've never loved Drew Lock. They've liked what they've seen. They saw potential there, but they obviously don't feel that it's going to be coming very soon, or it's not enough potential to say, you know what, through thick and thin, we're going to stick through this guy, even through change, even through possible ownership change. Like they're not there. So I think that tells you what their plans are in the draft. I think right now, if they could choose, it'd probably be get a guy in the draft. If they can't do that, well, unfortunately, free agency is going to be first. So I think they'll examine the prospects there, see what they can do. But if they love a guy more in the draft and they think they can get a guy in the draft, then they'll probably do that. But I think Drew Lock is ultimately the third and final option for quarterback next year. I think that's their backup plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I think even though Drew Lock is the third option, I think that is the most likely scenario. Because I don't think, unless they are, I don't want to say so desperate, but unless they are absolutely willing to take a guy like Trey Lance or Mac Jones, I don't. There could be, what's crazy? There could be 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round this year. 5. That hasn't been that well. I guess that was done in the Sam Darnold draft, right? Mm-hmm. Baker, Darnold, Rosen, Allen. That's 4. I'm missing someone.
Baker, Sam, Rosen,
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, and then Lamar Jackson.
Oh, Lamar Jackson was in that first round. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there could be 5 quarterbacks taken in this draft. So unless they're willing to go with one of the bottom 2 in that 5, which would be Trey Lance or Mac Jones, I don't think there's going to be a change at quarterback. At least going into the season. If Drew Lock struggles and they have a backup veteran quarterback, they could go to that guy like a Ryan Fitzpatrick or Andy Dalton or whatever. But look, if they take Trey Lance or Mac Jones, I'm okay with it because they're taking a shot. And look, Mac Jones was up for Heisman. He had a lot of weapons. His wide receiver literally won the Heisman. So, I don't like when people say, "Oh, when's the last great quarterback to come out of that school?" That's a stupid take. Just because when was the last Texas Tech quarterback that was a super great quarterback before Mahomes? What about Clemson with Deshaun Watson or now Trevor Lawrence? So I hate that. I hate when people say, "Oh, because where he went to school means he's going to be a bad quarterback." Like, it's ridiculous.
Don't scout the helmet, scout the player.
Right. So look, Mac Jones had a really, really good year. I'm not sure, right? I didn't watch enough of Alabama, and they killed so many teams. It really is hard to get like a solid take on him. I think watching the national championship on Monday will be it's on Monday, right? They didn't move it or change it, right?
I don't believe so.
It's usually on Monday. That's gonna be interesting to watch Mac Jones play in that game. So I'm gonna be really watching him. Obviously, we'll be really watching Justin Fields. Trey Lance, I don't know anything about him. All I know is he plays for a Division II school. So, but he has talent. He has a lot of talent, apparently. So, if they were to take one of those 2 guys, I'd be okay with it. As long as they're taking him in the top 10 to 15. Or at their pick 9, preferably.
I mean, at this point, sure. I just don't know where the direction and my issue is that, okay, if Drew Lock is your plan, then I guess you have to decide like what happens with Shermer, because we know Shermer and Lock aren't a perfect fit. So like they're just doing this so backwards. I just keep going back. They're just doing this all so backwards, and I don't know why they make this so difficult on themselves. But whatever. If they love a quarterback, go get him. If you love a quarterback in free agency and it's Dak Prescott, fine. If you can somehow swing a trade for Deshaun Watson, as unlikely as it seems, we've seen crazy things happen, fine, do it. But at this point, I don't think it's the worst thing, too, if all of that fails and they can't get a quarterback. I don't think it's the worst thing if we're running it back year 3 of Vic Fangio, and then we get the continuity that everybody wanted with Shermer and Locke. Then we get a final answer on that. So I guess you get resolution there. So.
Yeah, and look, all of this started 5 years ago. When Peyton Manning retired, there was no plan. And they kept going for, these late first, second round quarterbacks instead of saying, hey, you know what? Let's reset. Let's let some guys go, save some money. And, if we can, trade up in the draft or whatever. They had an opportunity to go and get Josh Allen. And I guess Elway was just gun shy. So, it started 5 years ago, and that's why they're in the position that they're in. And I'm not surprised. I mean, I saw it coming 5 years ago. So, all of this is, go look at my Twitter from 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, I saw this coming, so it's not surprising. That's why I say if you have a shot, you missed your opportunity with Josh Allen. That was the guy that they, like, all indications were if Josh Allen was going to be there, that it would be a perfect fit in Denver. He played in Wyoming, cold weather guy, strong arm, big, like right up Elway's alley, and they passed. If they pass again say Zach Wilson is there, or say Justin Fields is there for whatever reason, and they pass, I don't know what else to say. Like I won't get it. If they pass on Trey Lance or Mac Jones, we'll see.
Yeah. No, we'll see. I mean, we have 3 months for all this to get picked and poked and prodded and dissected, and I don't know. I don't care what they do. Just find the right guy.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's through the draft, if it's through free agency, if it's through I don't care. Just give me a guy that can win, please.
And Kemp said definitely wasn't gun shy when taking Drew Lock or Paxton Lynch. Sure, I'm Paxton Lynch, but Drew Lock, they passed upon him twice. Drew Lock was supposed to be a top 15 pick. I mean, he was. I remember in every mock draft, I would see him in the first round. Now, obviously, 29 other teams passed up on Drew Lock, and there's a reason. But you know, they passed up on Drew Lock twice. I would say that they were a little gun shy on Drew Lock, and it's because they didn't love him. If they love Trey Lance, or if they love Mac Jones, then screw it, take him at 9.
Mm-hmm.
If you really love the guy, if you don't, then don't take him. If you really love Zach Wilson, but he's not going to be there at 9, trade up. And if the price is way too high and way ridiculous, then all right, fine. But if someone trades up for Zach Wilson, and it's really not that bad, they missed out.
Well, it depends on where they trade. Listen, anybody that trades into the top 5 or top, like, you're gonna have to give up a load. Mm-hmm. So they're gonna have to give up a lot.
But if someone leapfrogs Denver, is what I'm saying,
right?
Then it's like,
yeah.
What
it depends on what they give up. I mean, right. But it's whatever they give up. I mean, it's gonna have to be a freaking haul. I mean, to move. I mean, we've seen to move up just a pick, it takes a lot.
Right.
But at least a couple first rounders.
Right. My thing is, don't just take a quarterback for the sake of a quarterback. Take the guy you love. And if you love Zach Wilson, like for me, I love Zach Wilson, but if I'm at 9 and he's probably going to go 2, well, crap, probably not going to get him, right? Or if the Jets are actually going to take a quarterback, crap, probably not going to get him. If the Jets, for whatever reason, they love Sam Darnold, they're going to stick with Sam Darnold, and they're going to take a tackle, whatever, which is very possible. That could happen. Then, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, who's at 3? Can we, do we love Justin Fields or Zach Wilson? Yes. Okay, can we get to 3? Can we get to 4? Can we get to 5? And whatever it takes to get there, if you're okay with it, I don't know how much I would give up, to be honest. I don't know. I would, I guess, look at what's been done in the past. But it depends. Look, this draft we've seen crazier things happen. Josh Allen fell to what, 7 once, or that year when he was probably supposed to be top 5. I think that the lowest people saw him going was to Denver, ironically. So things can happen. Guys can drop. There's a situation where the Jets say, you know what, we're not going to take quarterback. And Miami's like, you know what, we like Tua. And Atlanta's like, you know what, we like Matt Ryan. And who's at 5?
Cincinnati. Well, that's what I was going to say. I think your best 3 through 5, Miami, Atlanta, Cincinnati. Now, I'm still of the mind that I don't think Atlanta's completely committed to Matt Ryan. If I were them, I'd want to take a quarterback.
Well, if I were them, I would take Zach Wilson. But again,
But I think that's the area which you can trade into.
I think Matt Ryan did enough. But there's a situation where a second quarterback isn't taken until 6, 7, or it takes a trade up, because say those teams just are happy with where they're at, and there's another player that they like more. What if the Jets, they really just want a tackle, and they grab the Penei Sewell kid. Miami takes a wide receiver to help Tua. Say Atlanta, they're like, you know what, we like Matt Ryan. We really need help on our defense. We're going to take Micah Parsons. Cincinnati, they really need an offensive lineman to help protect their number 1 pick. Okay, so they're going to take an offensive lineman. The Eagles say that they're happy with Jalen Hurts. They want a wide receiver. They go and get Jamar Chase. The Lions, they have Stafford, so they go out and get a Kyle Pitts or a linebacker to help that defense, a corner, whatever. And then Carolina, they need a quarterback. So say then at that point they take a quarterback. There's a chance that a quarterback won't be taken until 8, which is Carolina, which could be Justin Fields. And then Denver's like, well, we're sitting here. We got Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, one of the two. So there is that scenario. I think at that point, though, there would be a trade up for someone to try and leapfrog Carolina and Denver. So maybe San Francisco at 12, I could see a situation where they try and leapfrog over one of those teams. So that's a possibility with this draft. The other possibility is that Trevor Lawrence goes 1, Justin Fields or Zach Wilson goes 2, and Atlanta takes one of the other 3, and you have 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 4. Mm-hmm. Or someone chooses Miami and there's 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 3. So there's that. I mean, it could happen like that. So we won't know until the draft, really. So it's just you gotta wait and see what happens. But if Denver is in a situation where they can either trade up or have one of those 3 drop, or say they really love Trey Lance or Mac Jones, then yeah, you take who you love. If Trey Lance and Mac Jones are still there at 9, but you're like, nah, don't love them enough to take them, then don't take them. Don't just take a quarterback because you feel like you need a quarterback.
Sure, I agree. Speaking of quarterbacks, though, and kind of crazy scenarios with quarterbacks, do you know what happened 9 years ago today?
Yeah, the Steelers game.
Yep. Tim Tebow to Demaryius Thomas, so that's always a cool memory to go back to. And then
do you remember watching that game? Like, do you remember watching it like live?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Okay. I remember watching that game.
Yeah.
I remember just being so angry because my friend, one of my best friends, he's a Steelers fan, and he texted me after the game, and he's like, "That was a crazy game," and I was like, "I'm angry because it shouldn't have even gotten to overtime." Like, I was that confident in them. Like, I was like, "What? Why did it even get to this point?" But no, it was a crazy game, and then you get depressed thinking, man, if we would have just continued to suck that year, we might have had Andrew Luck. But then again, you don't get Peyton Manning if you get Andrew Luck, and you get Super Bowls a Super Bowl, but 2 Super Bowl appearances, 5 division titles. So then you get happy again. You're like, oh wow, that was a cool year, and then you get depressed, like, oh, we could have had Andrew Luck. Oh, but we got a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. So okay, that's fine. It's a roller coaster of emotions, but that's a cool little memory to. Do
you think if Andrew Luck goes to a different team that he has injury issues?
It's hard to say, but probably not, because I think a lot of his injury issues were because he was getting beat up. He had no O-line.
Yeah, but part of it too was he held on to the ball. He ran with it a little too much. He didn't protect himself.
Sure. Maybe, but also he's probably he's in different situations in different games. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe he does, but maybe he lasts a little bit longer. The Colts didn't help him with the offensive line either. Like in that Broncos game, he got hit and he punctured a lung or did something to lacerated his kidney or something like that. I remember that game.
Isn't it crazy though that those 2 quarterbacks taken 1 and 2 are either out of the league or just a backup and not a very good backup? Like,
yeah.
That is.
And one was considered the best prospect since, Elway and Manning and all this stuff. And Andrew Luck was great. Don't get me wrong.
All I'm
But
saying.
yeah, like you mentioned, he retires early, and then RG3.
Look,
yeah, he becomes a bust, I guess. Well, is RG3 a bust? Can we say that?
I don't. Yeah, I guess you have to.
I guess by default, but it wasn't because skill. Like he got injured.
I mean, he won Rookie of the Year. He won Rookie of the Year over Andrew Luck. Like, he got that Washington team to the playoffs. That was an amazing rookie year. And then he, hurt his knee in the playoffs, or I think in the regular season maybe. And then he still played something. He kept playing. That was a problem.
Well, I think it was the playoff game versus Seattle where he hurt it.
And then he kept playing on it.
And he kept playing, and then he tore it.
Right.
But I mean, the injuries just derailed his career. And Kemp says there's no Senior Bowl. Yeah, I don't think there's a Senior Bowl this year. I think they canceled all those things.
Yeah. Look, real quick, everyone, Andrew Luck was gonna be, he's the best prospect since Peyton Manning. Blah blah blah. I'm just saying, be careful, Jacksonville. Be careful. That's all I'm saying.
I have seen a lot of people come out and say that Trevor Lawrence, like, he's not perfect. Like, he does have issues. He's not, like, exceedingly better than Justin Fields. I guess he also has he holds the ball a little bit, holds on to his first read a little bit too long and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
those are things that can
prospect out of college,
be fixed.
So.
But I'm just saying there is a chance. I don't remember who. Maybe it was Adam Schefter. There's a chance. It's slim, but there's a chance that Jacksonville could possibly hire, say, Urban Meyer, and then draft Justin Fields at 1. At that point, I think I would try and trade down, and maybe you still get Justin Fields at 3 or something.
Urban Meyer doesn't have any connection to Justin Fields, does he?
I don't know. I don't know, but that's apparently that's the only scenario where Trevor Lawrence doesn't go number 1. Which is like a 0.1% chance of that happening.
I would get that if he coached him his first year at Ohio State, but I don't think.
I don't think they have connection. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the Ohio State connection or whatever. But yeah, I think Zach Wilson's better. So.
Yes, we know. I'm just seeing this on Twitter. Do you have anything else on the Broncos that you want to get to?
No.
Okay. I'm just seeing this on Twitter as we kind of transition into Nuggets talk. I guess the NBA has released its MVP ranking so far. I don't know how true this is because it's coming from Legion Hoops, so it's one of those kind of iffy accounts that claims to be credible. But if this is true, their rankings are LeBron James, Luka, Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Steph Curry.
Wait, what?
Okay, yeah, that's why I don't know how credible this is. But if this is their ranking, like LeBron, okay, whatever. Luka,
no. I don't think LeBron's at 1, or is it just
Well, he's just the first person listed. I don't know if he's at 1, but he's the first person listed. But I mean, it's LeBron, so whatever. I mean, I expect his name to just be in there.
I love LeBron more than anyone, but no.
Luka's in there, okay. Paul George, no. Steph Curry, okay, he's had a nice last few games, but I don't know. Embiid's been playing really well, so I can give you that.
Yeah.
But Paul George, like, just this list, and then there's no mention of Nikola Jokic. And
the center averaging triple-double.
Not only that, like what he did last night. I mean, I saw the stat from ESPN. Over the last 2 seasons, Nikola Jokic is 5 of 5. 5 of 5. He has made 5 shots out of the 5 he has taken. That means he's 100%.
By the way, that's not just being perfect, but that's also the most that anyone has made.
Yes, and that's on game-tying or go-ahead shots in the final 10 seconds of not only the fourth quarter, but overtime.
That also tells you that Denver loves to put their fans in, just stressful situations.
Death scenarios, yes. I tell you every year, they take years off of my life.
To be fair, though, the reason why Nikola Jokic should not be number 1 in that race is their record.
Yeah, no, I agree. But he should be in that race. He's playing at an MVP caliber level right now. And last night, he had 21 points, I think, through the third quarter, and he finishes with 38. He scores 17. I think 14 of that in overtime, maybe 3 of that in.
By the way,
or,
I
excuse
would
me,
I would
14 in fourth
I
quarter.
would
Go
like
ahead.
to ask, did Jamal Murray play in the fourth? Or in
He didn't
overtime?
play in the fourth. It didn't look like it. And he had and I was looking at his box score this morning, and I was like, okay, he had 21, 9 and 4. Like that's what I asked him to be around. 8 and 19, yeah, I like that a little bit better, but that's like low 40s, I think. 3 of 9 from 3, not ideal. But no, I mean I don't know. I don't know what to say about Jamal.
Also, Malone is gonna get in trouble. 46 minutes, 41 minutes. That's Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic.
He can't not play those guys. Because if he takes one of those guys off the floor, the bench unit cannot score. And that's where you need a guy like MPJ. But MPJ is doing MPJ things. And I was having this talk yesterday. Man, I'm telling you, there is something going on with this MPJ situation. And they're going to reach a point where they're going to have to choose whether or not to keep him or move on.
I'm telling you, here's the thing. Their bench is already crap, right? So why not just go top heavy? Let's just pull the trigger at this point. This is not working. The bench sucks. I do like JaMychal Green. I don't get why he's not starting, but Paul Millsap did you see? I think it was in the fourth quarter. He got trapped down low, and he just couldn't do anything. He just like pushed
threw up a shot. Yeah.
Was that a shot or was that a?
Yeah, I think it was a shot. Well, and somebody, the guy on Twitter, I don't know what his name is, but he follows me on Twitter. I think he follows you too. His name is Comedian, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he messaged me, or he didn't message me, but he mentioned me, and he was like, "Can we just for once have Gary Harris and Paul Millsap have a good game at the same time, like in the same night?" And I was like, you know what? That's funny. So I looked at that. 5 points for Paul Millsap.
Gary had a great game. I can't hit
Gary
a 3, but
yeah, Gary was 15 points, 6 of 9. I mean, 1 of 4 from 3, but he played well. 15, 4, and 1.
And he made it tough for Luka. That's the thing.
He did.
He made it tough.
Well.
Luka also still had 38, 13, and 9. So,
and he made a. I'll say this. He made a lot of tough shots. I agree with Malone because Malone was furious last night. First off, that game should have never gone to overtime.
Yeah.
And this is a trend that we're starting to see in this season with the Nuggets. They were up 12 in the third, and then in the fourth they closed the gap, or late in the third. So it's like you can't do that. They were up 12, I think, in that Sacramento game that they lost.
Well, they were up by 9, I think, going into the fourth.
Yeah, so that can't happen. Jokic, for as great as he played last night, he missed 4 free throws. If you make 4 of those, the game's out of reach. It's not going to overtime. Also, and this is not why the Nuggets lost the game, but it's a cause and effect type of thing. It's a snowball effect. The foul on Gary Harris for that 3 on Luka Doncic, where was the contact? Even in live time, I was like, where did he hit him? I watched the replay of it again today. I was like, where did he hit him? He skimmed by him. So that's the benefit of the whistle. And then Luka just hit tough shots down the stretch, so you got to give him credit there.
Well, and then PJ Dozier, man, that was in the fourth. That last play in the fourth, the turnover
where he loses the ball. Yeah, and I like PJ, but I just
look I don't know what the play was, but if you go back and watch Gary's reaction, so Gary passed it in PJ. Immediately, Gary tried to cut. He would have been wide open for a layup. But Dozier immediately got the ball and spun towards the baseline, which you can't do that, first of all. You can't just immediately spin to the baseline because what happened is pretty much what's always going to happen. And 2, Gary would have been wide open for a cut, and watching Gary's reaction, he was like, what was that? Like, I don't know if that was a design play where Gary was supposed to cut like that, or if that was just Gary saw an opening and PJ just didn't see it. But come on, man. But that's also why a lot of times at the end of games, Paul Millsap is in the game. So If Paul Millsap is in instead of PJ Dozier, then that probably doesn't happen. So I don't know. Look, I like Dozier, but yikes. So it's just I wouldn't be upset if they just let's keep Murray and Jokic at all costs, and let's go get Harden or Beal, whatever it takes. Other than Jamal and Jokic, grab one of those guys.
Yeah, well, I'm still fine with being patient. I'm still gonna stick to my 15 game mark. They're 3-5 right now. It doesn't feel great. It doesn't look great. When you look at their wins,
They've had
it's
the easiest
over.
schedule in the NBA, though. That's the
have.
problem.
They beat a depleted Minnesota team. Now, to be fair, the Nuggets also haven't had their full roster at hand, but they beat a Minnesota team and they beat a Rockets team that were down guys as well. So, and both those teams are 2-4 and 2-6 respectively. So, but then again, like you look at the Nuggets are 3-5. Yes, that looks bad. But if you look at the rest of like Dallas with that win last night, they go to 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
San Antonio's 4-4. Sacramento's 4-4. Portland's 4-4. Golden State's 4-4.
Right.
New Orleans is 4-4. Utah, who's the 4th seed right now, is 4-4. So I get it. It looks bad, but I'm still waiting. Like I think we just need to give it some time. I get where everybody's going. Like, it's not to say that there's not issues, because there are, and there's red flags. And I don't think this is a championship team. And I hope anybody that thinks that, like, you should really temper your expectations. And when we saw how the offseason unfolded, you should have tempered your expectations then. And by the way, Jeremy Grant credit to him for banking on himself, because it's paying off. You see what he's doing in Detroit. Now, granted, they're like 1-8, but he's averaging 20 plus points a game and like 5-6 rebounds.
Yeah,
so
no, you can go get your numbers and blah blah blah, but you're also 1-7. So
yeah, well, that's the trade-off. And I guess they put out an article too. I think someone in Detroit of why a large reason of why he left also is he wanted to go to Detroit because they have a black GM, they have a black head coach, and it's a predominantly black city. So that meant a lot to him. So if that's what that means to you, then okay, I get it. But the Nuggets there's issues, there's problems. I think I'd be shocked if there's not a shakeup at the trade deadline, but I'm curious to see what this team can do with what the full rotation is, the full rotation of guys, because they had MPJ and then JaMychal Green wasn't available. MPJ is now going to miss probably an extra like 3, 4, 5 games now. So that's going to be an issue. So you're not going to have your full lineup of guys, but still, I don't think they should be playing this bad. I think part of it is fatigue, and then Malone's, he's having to play these guys so many minutes, and it's just, they have to get something from the bench. But at this point, I don't know what you can do. With MPJ out, like, you're gonna have to stagger minutes, and Will Barton's gonna have to play better. All that talk about I'm a starter and all that, like 3 of 7, 2 of 5 from 3, 8 points. You're a -10 on the night.
Yeah, no, go look at his numbers as a starter. They're horrible.
And I think part of that is he's pressing right now because he's going into a contract year, and he wants to earn. This is probably going to be his last like big deal, because who knows what he's going to get after this. But I think he's pressing a little bit right now, and I think he also is still trying to get his legs under him because he missed a good portion of last season. So I think it's just a perfect storm right now for the Nuggets. It's new guys finding chemistry. It's injuries. It's MPJ messing around or whatever. I don't want to say messing around because I don't know why his call was extended, but him not being available. It's fatigue from the season, being such a short and condensed off season. I think there's just a lot of moving parts. It's hitting the Nuggets at the perfect time. And I saw Matt Moore of the Action Network tweet this out last night. Let me see if I can find it. But it was essentially to kind of sum it up was, listen, the Nuggets they're a bad basketball team. They're not a good team right now. They're not even a great team right now. But it's November, and we're 5 months away from the playoffs. So again, yeah, here we go. The Nuggets aren't a great team, aren't even a very good team. Luckily, there's checks calendar, 5.5 more months until the playoffs. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll find a way to sneak into the playoffs. if not be one of those 4 through 8 seeds. But there is real problems. There should be concerns, but I don't think it's time to panic yet. I'm still going to hold fast to that 15 games. After that 15 game mark, if it's still looking like this, then okay, we need to do something maybe drastic at the trade deadline.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like looking at all of these teams. The West is really good. But the East is also like there's some good teams in the East. Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Atlanta, Philly, Boston. Even Indiana's playing really well. I think Orlando will kind of fall back to earth a little bit.
Well, yeah, New York, Orlando, Cleveland. I think those
Yeah.
teams will fall back down. I don't think it's shocking that we're seeing a lot of teams that didn't play in the bubble or didn't play much in the bubble have success right now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Phoenix
I just want people to think about that too.
Phoenix is now 14-2 since the bubble started. At least in regular season games. Yeah, they're a really good team. The Clippers obviously have something to prove, but even then, the Clippers and Lakers are both 6-3. So like, it's you go on a 3-game winning streak and get to 6-5, you're a top 4 seed. So it's not like I guess the funny enough though, the Nuggets point differential right now in the season is literally 0.
Mm-hmm.
But I just there are it's not just like, oh, it's early, whatever, but there are some really big issues. Defense is terrible. You can't get one stop. That's it. Just one stop. And the Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray playing the minutes that they're playing, it just can't continue. The benches, man, going into the season, I thought this team was going to be deeper than last year. But I mean, no one can score at this point. Like no one else can score. And it might pick up later, but if you're not going to play Bol, if you're not going to play, some of these other young guys, you're doing it really you're doing it to yourself. I think you got to at least help Jokic and Jamal a little bit, to help save them a little bit, because you're not really even giving any of these guys a chance. Like Zignaji could help this team, I think. Bol, put him out there for 5 minutes. Let Jokic rest for 5 minutes. Hartenstein, why isn't he playing? You really ran with the 8-man rotation. So, like, yeah, I get maybe in practice these guys aren't doing well, but, I mean, Malone is turning into Tom Thibodeau. Like, I get it, but at the same time, you got to trust these guys. Because if Nikola Jokic gets hurt, or if Jamal Murray gets hurt, and their season ends, that is 100% on Malone. And this is what I've been talking about with Malone these last couple of years. Like, you gotta trust your young guys at some point. And, or you gotta trust more than 8 guys. And I get it, sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it doesn't show on the court or in practice. But you have to do it, because look what happened to Derrick Rose. I mean, it happens. If you run these guys into the ground, they're going to get hurt. And it's going to cost him his job. And it's going to cost this team their future. So he needs to figure it out, because this can't keep happening. Like, I mean,
well, I guess what's the alternative though? I mean, if he coasts, if he lets these guys, if he keeps them to low 30s, high 20s, right? Then you're taking more losses. Then you ramp it up late in the season.
Well, we don't know that though, because
as a late seed.
We don't know that though, because he's not playing anyone else. So we don't know how those guys are gonna play. For all we know, Zignaji could come in and put up a double-double, and he's playing really well. We don't know.
Sure, but it's unlikely.
Bol could come in for 5 minutes and give you 7 points. and a couple
and
blocks.
give up 10 points. Though.
Sure, but hey, if you're losing 2 to 3 points, it's fine by me. At least Jokic and Jamal are getting some rest, and they're not playing 40 minutes a game. I'm telling you, if one of those two gets hurt, and it's a bad injury, not only is the season over, but Malone should be fired. If it's a serious injury, and one of those two goes down because they're playing 40 minutes a game, Malone should be fired.
I mean, I just think it's a tough situation he's in, though, because he's playing these guys this amount of minutes because he wants to win. Because the alternative is not playing them.
But we don't know that.
Those guys, I know.
He's going to an 8-man rotation. No one else is
that,
playing.
But it's unlikely that these guys are going to come in and make a huge impact. So then you're losing games. So then he's really, it's a lose-lose. If he plays, if he runs these guys into the ground, they risk injury of getting hurt. They're not even winning when he does play them this much. Or if he gives them rest, then he's throwing these guys out there who may play well, but may not. It's more likely that they won't. Because you go down the roster, there's nobody on this roster outside of Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Will Barton, and Michael Porter that can create their shot consistently enough to make an impact. Now, Marcus Howard, he did lead the NCAA in scoring, and Bobo can to an extent, but it's a lose-lose. So I feel for Malone in that aspect, and I get what you're saying. Yes, I don't want any of these guys to get hurt, but it's trying to find the fine balance of playing these guys enough to get the win, but also finding rest for them. Really, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to these players on the bench. They have to step it up. And also part of it is Malone, to your point. He has to give guys shots. He has to, if things aren't working with PJ Dozier and Hartenstein, then okay, throw out Najee, throw out Bull. I get what you're saying, but it's just, I think for him, we have to sympathize with him a little bit and empathize with him because this is a tough situation he's in.
I mean,
but that's why he gets paid big bucks. So,
I mean, sure, but yeah, you got to trust some of these other guys. And here's the thing: Campazzo just went off the other night, and then he decides not to play him. And the excuse is, well, Dallas went big. Well, I don't care. There's almost every other team in the league doesn't play like that in the regular season. Play your guys. And look, if it's a bad matchup, it's a bad matchup. But who's to say that because you go small, you're gonna get crushed by Dallas? Sometimes going small it will help you. So I think that was a lame excuse to why he's not playing more guys.
Was Hartenstein, and he had 1 rebound and 1 assist and no point. So
yeah,
and 1 block.
So,
I mean,
congrats on going big. You know, why are you playing? Look, if you want to play Jamal and Jokic in the whole fourth quarter, that's fine. But why are you playing them 30 minutes up until the fourth quarter? It's just was beating Dallas that important? Because you lost anyways. They're a bad matchup for you. So by the way, that proves my point of I don't want to see Dallas in the playoffs. They didn't even have Porzingis.
Oh yeah, the Nuggets didn't have MPJ either. So
sure, but it's just a bad matchup in my opinion.
They can knock down shots, and how Dallas is constructed is how the Nuggets should theoretically be constructed. They have shooters who can knock down shots, and the Nuggets don't. And until they build this team correctly around Jokic, who continues to prove he's the best player until we see Jamal or MPJ prove otherwise, they need to surround him with shooters. The Nuggets just have a bunch of guys who can slash to the basket and shoot mid-range shots. Occasionally they have a hot night where they explode and guys are hitting threes. But, I mean, Monte Morris isn't a shooter. Paul Millsap isn't a shooter. You know, you go down the roster. I mean, JaMychal Green can hit those threes, but he's not necessarily a shooter. Will Barton, I mean, he gives you 2 of 5, and occasionally he can go 3 or 4. It's just, they need to build it as Dallas has. Like, Hardaway can consistently hit those at like a 38 to 40% clip. Finney Smith, I mean, he was 4 of 8 last night. You know, I mean, Maxi Kleba, he knocked down key shots down the stretch. 3 of 5 from 3 last night. So they need to reconfigure how they build this team. And we compare it all the time to LeBron. They need to build a Jokic team like you build LeBron. He's a playmaker. So you need to give him shooters around him. Now, it's not to say that you just want to bring a bunch of Joe Harrises in who are, one-dimensional, or JJ Redicks. That's not what we're saying here. But they need to look to swap out the Will Bartons, the Gary Harrises. And I'll bring this up with you because I was talking about this with Zach the other day. Because I said earlier, right, that I feel like this MPJ thing is not going to end like we all want it to. Hear me out on this. Tell me what you think about this. And I don't know if Golden State would be willing to do this. Clay is what, 30, 31?
I'm already
somewhere
out.
around there. He's coming off of now 2 significant lower body injuries. An ACL.
I'm already out.
And, well, hear me out. Well, are you out because of you don't want to do this, or are you out in a point of Golden State's perspective?
I wouldn't want Clay.
I think you're crazy. But this is what I would do. I think you're absolutely nuts. We know that Jamal Murray needs the ball. So, and we know that MPJ needs the ball to be effective. They need some sort of off-ball scorer, a guy who can score and defend, and that's what Klay Thompson is. If you're the Denver Nuggets, and maybe it's at this trade deadline, maybe it's in the offseason, but Klay Thompson is coming off of 2 lower leg injuries. I don't know what his contract is looking like, if you can look that up real quick. But if I'm the Nuggets, I go to the Warriors and I say, listen, we need this. Steph is getting towards the latter end of his career, even though he's still in his prime. How could we get Klay Thompson? Would MPJ for Klay, and that being the basis of the deal, it gives them a guy that can carry the next torch after Steph. It gives them a shooter, a wing guy, a big that can stretch the floor still for them, someone who can create. It gives the Nuggets a 3-and-D guy who can knock down shots, who can really provide them what they need in an off-ball guy, and it still allows Jamal to have the ball in his hands to create. I think that's a win-win for both teams right there. Golden State gets a young superstar in the making who can stretch the floor and can carry the next torch after Steph is done, pair him with a Wiseman, and then you give the Nuggets a guy who they desperately need, a knockdown shooter who can defend. I don't see how that's a lose-lose. Now, I could see Golden State saying no because they want Klay to retire as a Warrior. I would totally get that. But if they want to continue winning championships and extending their life a little bit, I mean, why wouldn't they do that?
Klay has 3 more years on his contract.
Okay.
Look, I love Klay Thompson, but I would just stay away from the injuries.
But he's coming in as your third option. He's not coming in as a main option.
I know, but look, I could be wrong. We've seen players come back and be healthy, but he's missing his 2nd straight year. I just don't. If you're gonna trade MPJ and you're gonna go all out, I get your point of going after someone like Klay Thompson, but I just don't think it's smart to go after Klay Thompson because of the injuries and giving up a lot of your future for someone who is 30 years old, will be 31 by next year, and has missed 2 straight years. Look, one of them was a torn ACL. The next was his Achilles. That's a big concern. And I get KD has come back from his Achilles. I get all that, but man, I just, sometimes with some players, they just hit a wall and they just can't get healthy. He may have one more good year in him. Great year. But other than that, I don't see him. This really sucks to say because I really do like Klay Thompson a lot. I don't want to say he's done. I don't think you're gonna get what you want from him. for someone like an MPJ. I would rather, if you're gonna go all out like that, I'd rather you go all out on a James Harden or a Bradley Beal or whatever. I just I
I think you're putting too much stock into his injury. Like, there's significant injuries, but I think the way he plays, I think he's a shooter. He'll be
sure
fine.
sure the
Like,
way
his,
sure,
his Achilles not
but
affecting
but
his jump shot.
that could also affect his defense.
Yes,
That
and
could
yes.
that could also, like, he's not gonna be the same player right when he comes back, obviously. And
No.
I don't think that it's going to last very long. Like I said, I think he's gonna have one, maybe two more really good years. But I don't think his defense will be there. I think it's more of just his offense he'll have a couple more great years of his offense. I don't. If I were Golden State, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would get off this Klay Thompson contract, and I would move on. But yeah, I just it just scares me. It's not worth it to me
I get your
to give up
concerns,
an
but
MPJ.
it'd be different if it was like a Zion that we're talking about, or like an MPJ player who kind of in a way relies on his explosiveness. I get what you're saying. Now I do think he would lose a step defensively, but I still think that's a guy that you could still bring in who could give you 15 a night, if not more, just off of his shot alone.
Yeah, but here's
the
the thing
looks
though.
he would get.
Here's the thing though. Yeah, you're saying that he's gonna be your third piece, who is gonna give you 15 a night, and he's just another shooter on the team, right? That's basically what you're saying. Okay, that's not worth 35 million, 37 million, 40 million, 43 million. Because now you have no depth. And if you're going to go top heavy like that, you need your third guy to be really good. Like a top 20, 25 player. I just don't think when Klay Thompson comes back that he's going to be that guy anymore.
That's fair. I guess I'm banking on that he will be, and he'll provide value.
But
to
at
that
the
contract.
15 points per game, that's not worth the 43-40. That's not worth going top heavy.
Well, no, I think that's just a baseline of what I'm looking for. I think Klay could easily explode for 20. I mean, we've seen Klay.
Maybe occasionally, but he's gonna be missing some games off of rest, and
maybe, but I mean, we've seen this guy. He has the most points in NBA history without dribbling the ball more than like 10 times. So he doesn't even need to dribble.
Look,
so
I could be wrong. Missing 2 straight years scares me. That's all.
fair.
If it was just a 1 year, I'd be fine. But like back-to-back years of ACL and then Achilles, like that scares the hell out of me. If I'm Golden State too, I'm very nervous about it. Like I'm so excited for Klay to come back next year.
I'm not sure if it's the same leg, Cam. I don't know if it is.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think his ACL was his right leg.
Yeah. No. The
Achilles
was his right.
Okay.
I'm seeing it right now. I don't know. It doesn't say his ACL though.
I don't know. I think it'd be something that'd be interesting, but that's who the Nuggets need. Now, Bradley Beal, I think, would be a nicer option too, because I mean, obviously he's younger. He doesn't have the injury history. I think that's a guy that can work a little bit better off ball, but I still think he does need the ball a little bit. We need to
have Jamal be
how
playing.
we construct this team.
They need to have Jamal playing off ball a little bit more. I'm telling you, this starting lineup is crap. I would start. I would start Monte. And then just stagger. But I would start Monte at the 1. I'd move Jamal at the 2. I think Jamal is just a better player at the 2. I think he'd be more consistent. MPJ at the 3. I would start Jermichael Green and then Jokic at the 5. Here's also what I would say down the line, how I would go about building this team in the future. I would actually find a big to put along Jokic and have essentially Jokic be your point guard, which he basically is now. But put an actual big, like a Drummond type of player, or I don't know, just someone who can protect the rim.
Yeah, you need a Miles Turner, Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, who also can catch lobs from Jokic, run pick and rolls with Jokic, stuff like that. So in the future, I'd prefer an actual point guard. Seeing what
would be really intriguing?
Seeing what Chris Paul is doing in Phoenix is really killing me. Like, it's absolutely killing me inside to see that, because I'm telling you, I see Jamal more like a Devin Booker, or Donovan Mitchell. Like, I see Jamal as a 2. So that's where I'd put Jamal at the 2 and I'd put Jokic at the 4. That's what I would do. And then I would bring in an actual 5 and an actual point guard, and then have MPJ run at the 3. That's what I would do. But
you know who'd be an interesting option at center, like alongside Jokic, would be Jared Allen.
Yeah,
it's a rim protector, a guy who he averages 3 offensive rebounds a game.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a qualifying offer next year, which I would assume that the Nets they'll probably try and keep him. But I mean, maybe I don't know what their contract situation will look like. But that would be an interesting guy to have. A guy who's energy, who protects the rim. He's another 7-footer. Obviously, he can't stretch the floor really, but that would be an interesting one. That would be an interesting guy to have alongside Jokic. But no, I agree. I just you mentioned Donovan Mitchell. That's a guy right now who he is struggling.
Yeah.
Have you seen his numbers?
Yeah, they're rough.
He is not playing well. He's he's averaging 21 points per game, but Jazz fans are a little uneasy. I've seen that on Twitter lately. 15 points.
Jazz fans shouldn't say squat. The dude literally carried his team in the first round of the playoffs.
He did, but he's had a 6 of 16 game, 6 of 23, 8 of 23, 9 of 23.
Yeah, well, look
6
at
of
Jamal.
14, 8 of 17, 10 of 22, 8 of 23. He has not had an efficient night of shooting the basketball. He's shooting on the season. He's shooting 34% from the field. Or no, excuse me. That was for the month of December. But in January, he's only at 42%.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell is a scorer. Yeah. Like, that's what he is. He's not a shooter.
38% from the field this season and 32% from 3. Woof. I think he'll turn it around. Donovan's a good player. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
But he's not playing well right now for whatever reason. And I think part of it, I'm telling you, a lot of people aren't putting stock into this, but I really think the short turnaround is affecting a lot of these players. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having this conversation a couple of weeks ago with a guy on Twitter, like, oh, they're a young team, it shouldn't really matter. But dude, I'm telling you, the mental wherewithal, like the wear and tear that they go through, the physical wear and tear, they're used to, like, think about it. 72 games of travel, they're playing back-to-backs. Like, I don't think people understand, like, oh, it's basketball, it's not really a contact sport. That still wears on your body. Like, you're still banging against guys. Sometimes you're falling on the floor. Like, I don't know about you, but there would be times when I would go play rec basketball, and the next day I'm like, oh my gosh, my back is stiff, my legs hurt, like my arms are sore. Like, I can't imagine what it's like. Now, these guys obviously get used to it, but I think the transition from playing in the bubble, all that had to offer, the physical, mental aspects of it, and then you're asking some of these guys, like the Nuggets, oh, in 87 days, 88 days, you're back into regular season mode, full travel, back-to-backs, you're doing all that again. And like I think it's an adjustment for these guys, and it's something different. It's something that they have to get used to on top of all the COVID stuff. Like they still have to worry about that. So I think I just think it's a perfect storm hitting the Nuggets this year. And Kemp says I always thought basketball and baseball have too many games. Yeah, I think the perfect number for them would be around 65.
They'll never do it though.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. But
No,
I think
there's too much
65
money involved.
And in baseball, I just don't listen. Everybody knows how I feel about baseball. 40 games, 7 innings. Like, let's just take this, completely condense it.
Yeah, you know how much money they lose off that.
They lose money anyways because it's a boomer sport that nobody likes. So,
yeah, it'll never happen.
There's
a reason why the NFL is going to go up to 17 games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I agree with the short turnaround to an extent, but I also see the Lakers at 6-3, Phillies at 7-2, Boston's at 6-3, even Milwaukee's at 5-3. Like, I get the excuses, but at a certain point, you know, just watching the team, the bench,
also have
the
two
bench
top 5 players though on.
Yeah, I agree, but
on their team,
you know,
on the Lakers.
I mean, isn't Jamal supposed to be stepping up here?
Well,
Jokic
is AD or LeBron.
Jokic is playing at an MVP level. The bench is awful. I mean, at the end of the day, the bench is really bad. And I mean, well, half the bench is really bad. We don't know about the rest. And I just, like I said, I don't think it's really time to panic. I just think you just gotta wait and see. But if these guys are already, you know, tired and with this turnaround, it's already affecting them, then nothing's gonna improve. I mean, what like it's not like they're gonna get a 2-month break here. Like this is how it's gonna be until the playoffs. So. I don't know. I mean, if that's the excuse, then this is a lost season.
And that's kind of what it's feeling like already, but we got to give it time. But it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Real quickly before we wrap up today, Garrett Bowles was named to AP All-Pro second team. So congrats to Garrett Bowles for that. Justin Simmons was not mentioned to an All-Pro team, which kind of surprising given how well he played this year. But I'm not seeing any Broncos on the first team, which, you know, is anybody worthy of that? But Garrett Bowles second team, so that's really cool for him.
I got the only player to make an All-Pro team.
Dude, 2020 was weird. 2020 was like, watch this. Like, if you would have told, like, I would have bet you my entire, like, bank account. Like, oh, Garrett Bowles will be an All-Pro. I'm like, how much you want to bet? I would have bet you a year's worth of crumble cookies probably. And he did it. So congrats to him. Hopefully he keeps it up. Hopefully we weren't bamboozled, hoodwinked. You know?
Yeah.
I'm hoping he keeps it up.
That's just so funny to me. If I told you only one player from the Broncos is gonna make an All-Pro team, and it's Garrett Bowles.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, honestly. I mean, it's not unfortunate.
Who would you have guessed? Like, who would you have guessed as the one player to make?
If you would have gave me options, if you would have told me before this season that one player, what was this before or after the injuries?
After Vaughn, but before. I mean, I wouldn't say Vaughn anyways, but before Sutton.
Yeah, and Kemp says Sutton. I would have said either Sutton, you know, maybe Fant. I, of course, would have thrown Philip Lindsay in there. Chubb.
All right, I'm done.
And that's about it. If you would have said one, I think those are legitimate options.
Philip Lindsay's overrated.
Who's overrated?
Who
did you say? You better watch your mouth. I will not stand. This is a sensitive time for Philip Lindsay fans. Okay, this is very sensitive.
Melvin Gordon's better. Which is not saying a lot.
He's only better because Philip Lindsay got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you admitted earlier in the season that he was the better running back.
He was
So there's
playing.
no
He was playing like the better running back at the
No,
time.
you didn't say that. You didn't specify it in that way. You said he's the better running back. There's
At
no
the time, he
take-back
was
season.
the better running back.
There's no.
But
take-back
look,
season.
shocker, Phillip Lindsay got hurt again. Melvin Gordon played all season, and also nearly hit 1,000 yards after having a really rough start. So look how easy, by the way, it is to actually hit 1,000 yards. It's really not that hard.
So I guess every running back that runs for 1,000 yards, it's not that hard, and we shouldn't place value in it.
I mean, if a running back hits 1,000 yards, it's like, okay, well, that guy had a solid season. I don't think, I would, if you're a great running back, I think you should be hitting bare minimum 1,200, probably closer to 1,400. Just saying. If you play all 16 games, I mean,
I'm not gonna acknowledge your slander. You're trying to get me down a road that will make me angry, and I'm not gonna let you do this today. Before we go, I have to. And Kemp says Phil got played dirty. Yes, he did. They screwed him.
Boo-hoo.
Anyways, pick 'em. I hold a 12 game lead on you right now.
Yeah.
And there's exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games.
I'm going to go opposite of you every game.
Well, yeah. So do you want to concede this now, or are you just going to pick opposite of me every time?
I don't know. I mean, I might as well just keep going.
So you're gonna pick opposite of me every single game. I mean, listen, if you just get like 2 wrong this week, it's done.
No. I think if I get within 10, I'll be pretty happy. If I get to single digits, then you obviously blew like a 10+ lead. So
I'll take my gift card whenever you're ready. I think I won the Thursday night bet too.
Well, only like half the Thursday night games ended up being played, so I don't know. I think eventually at some point we said we weren't gonna do it.
Oh.
So just because we did it on one of the episodes, we were like, yeah, it's probably not gonna happen because I think only like half of those Thursday night games even got played, which is pretty funny.
Do I get a plaque as well? Pick'em champion.
No.
Pick'em champion.
No.
For all the great picks I had this year.
Look, it's just one of the weird things that happened in 2020.
No.
But to be fair, you're still gonna blow like a 10+ lead.
I sat my starters down. And we, the bench came in.
You sat your starters down when you had a chance at 2 crumble cookie boxes.
I didn't want to play them 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I brought them in when it was closing time. I was the Jokic of Pick'em, and
Mm-hmm.
I hit that shot.
You were at what, 19 at one point, and you blew it.
We don't need to go into specifics. I mean, really, what are numbers though? Like, how far really is?
Oh, I guess then you didn't win anything.
Well, that's not true. Like, how far though is 19 from 10? Like, really, not that far when you actually think about it. So,
mm-hmm.
That's
if I actually sent my picks in, this would be a whole lot closer.
Well, hey, availability is the best ability. I don't know what to tell you. All right, so that's a skill too. So it's not my fault. You have the memory of a fruit fly, right?
Yeah.
So, take that up with your brain in your memory bank. Be better. Do some memory exercises. Play the little card game where you flip over the cards.
I'll say this. Next season, I'm willing to put 2 boxes of crumble cookie on the line.
Okay. Well, you're gonna be sorely disappointed when I win 2 of them next year. Mm-hmm. So that's what's gonna happen. That'll do it for us today.
Wait, you guys should we make our picks?
Oh yeah. I guess we do need to do that, huh? Are you gonna go opposite of me?
I don't know.
Let's just Indy versus them. Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo. Oh, come on.
I'll go
There's
Indy.
no way Indy's going to win this game.
I'll go Indy.
Oh, you poor soul. You're putting your trust in Phillip Rivers.
Well, here's the thing. When we get into the playoffs, I don't think that being the hottest team in the NFL necessarily carries over all the time. It does carry over, and it does result in. I think, look, when you win 10, 11 games in a row, we saw it with the Broncos firsthand. It happened in New Orleans also. When you win so many games in a row and you're going into the playoffs at this rate, at that type of rate, sometimes you do have a letdown. And the AFC is really deep as far as how many good teams there are. As far as great teams, I would say there's probably one. But I just think it's not always the best thing to go into the playoffs with a 10, 11 game winning streak. Just saying.
I will bet you a separate Crumble cookie gift card on this game.
No, I mean, look, I'm not like super confident. I'm not saying like I guarantee you the Colts win. I'm just saying I'm not gonna be shocked at all if the Colts win. Look, the Colts are also kind of hitting their stride too. Now they kind of they blew their lead to Jacksonville. But I mean they pretty much had it, and I think they just kind of backed off. I don't think I don't think the Colts are going to, say they win, and I don't think they're gonna beat Kansas City the next week, But I'm just saying I think they have a shot against Buffalo. They actually have a pretty good shot. It's the playoffs. Like anything can happen. I mean, Denver as the number 1 seed lost to Baltimore. As the number 2 seed, they lost to the Colts. So,
Buffalo by 10. Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. I'm going Pittsburgh.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm even without the head coach. I'm going Cleveland.
Yeah, no, Cleveland's going to be without their head coach.
I know. So I'm gonna go with Cleveland.
They're going to be without everybody.
No, they'll have their players, which is the important part.
They're going to miss I think a wide receiver and a guard are gone too. All right.
I'm going to Cleveland.
I'll take Bexies.
I'm gonna stick with I don't buy into Pittsburgh at all.
Okay.
I don't they can't run the ball. They're one-dimensional offensively, which I think benefits Cleveland's defense.
You're one-dimensional.
And Cleveland can run the ball, and Pittsburgh has a lot of guys missing from their defense now. Their defense is not nearly as good as it was. Cleveland is to me kind of like Washington in a way, and I just think it's a bad matchup for Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna go Cleveland.
Baltimore versus Tennessee. I think this is the year Lamar Jackson gets his first playoff win.
Tennessee beat them last year, huh? Yep. Man. Tennessee is playing so well, but Baltimore is playing both of these two teams. I think is a good example of hitting the playoffs at the right time, where they're not on this ridiculous 10, 11 game winning streak, but they've gotten it going the last 3 or 4 weeks. I was wrong about Tennessee for sure. This is a tough one. You're going with Baltimore?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. I'll go with Tennessee.
All right.
You know what's funny is I'm not going opposite of that one. I think I lean more towards just going opposite, but the first two, I actually believe that those two games happen. I think this third one, the Baltimore Tennessee one, is I think a little bit more of a coin flip, but I'm not going opposite of you just to go opposite of you. I actually like these picks.
No, this is fine. I mean, you're gonna lose the pick'em for sure within the first 2 games. So that's I'm fine with it. New Orleans versus Chicago.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see your face when those
not even
teams
even
win.
gonna entertain that thought in my head. It's not even gonna happen.
This one I'll go with the Saints. There's no way Chicago wins. There's just not. There's no way.
This is a tough one. The Rams versus Seattle.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
I think Jared Goff is going to play.
Okay. What's also because obviously they played twice during the regular season. Do you know what their
they
record was? Did they split?
I think they split.
Yeah, so
I think
Seattle
won the second game.
Yeah, Seattle won 2 weeks ago 20-9, and then the Rams won 23-16 before. But Jared Goff was not playing that Seattle game the second time.
I'm leaning towards Seattle here. I just think at the end of the day, Russell Wilson plays great in the playoffs, and
yeah, I mean, the problem with Seattle,
if it is Goff, he's coming off of a thumb issue. So
was it off his throwing hand?
I think so. Yeah.
The problem, look, this would have been really easy for me like 5 weeks ago. If Seattle could get the offense from the first half of the season and the defense from the second half of the season, this would be an easy pick.
Put them together like a Megazord.
Right, right. I'm gonna have to take Seattle, but like I really don't trust Seattle right now until I see it against the Rams. Yeah. Because I do think if Seattle puts it together, I think they make it to the Super Bowl. I think they're the best team if they can put things together. But I don't know.
And then finally we got Tampa Bay versus Washington. Oh, Chase Young, bless your heart. Bless your soul. I don't know why players do this every year with Tom Brady. Every year. One player says something and I'm just like, why? Like, I get Tom's not what he used to be, but why? Tom is the ultimate villain that you think you kill, but then he gets up. And you're like, just die already, please. Now that's starting to become Patrick Mahomes, but except you can't even kill that guy the first time. He just murders you first. I don't see any way Washington wins this game. Even if Chase Young plays out of his mind, I think just Tampa Bay is just head and shoulders a better football team.
I think Tampa Bay is better. And I do think Tampa Bay wins. I'll pick Tampa Bay. But the thing with Tampa Bay this year, when you get pressure on Tom Brady, he struggles.
Well, he's always struggled with pressure.
Right. I mean, yeah, like the Broncos with Von Miller. So if Chase Young has a great game, Tampa Bay's defense, I think, is pretty soft. I think this is the best matchup Washington could have possibly have gotten.
Yeah, I mean it's not
like if there's
to think that they could win this.
No, if you told me, okay, Washington makes the playoffs as a 7-9 team, and pick one team that they can beat out of the rest of the NFC, I would have picked
Chicago.
Well, okay, I wouldn't have. Yeah, I keep forgetting Chicago made the playoffs. Okay, other than Chicago, because Chicago is probably worse than Washington. I would pick Tampa Bay. I think the NFC has more Super Bowl contenders than the AFC, but I think the AFC is deeper. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think there's more really good teams in the AFC. It's just that there's one, in my mind, there's one Super Bowl contender in the AFC, whereas the NFC, I mean, I think Green Bay, Seattle, New Orleans. I'm not going to put Tampa Bay in that list, though.
At the end of the day, listen, this is all a moot point because Kansas City is going to roll through everybody.
I'm not going to say they're going to roll. Is there like a NFL playoff bracket or something?
Yes. Yeah. Like, it's all fun and games for Buffalo. They're all dancing and bebopping and hoot-hotting, and I'm telling you, once you have to play 15, there's no hope.
Okay, I can't find a bracket.
Kansas City will still play the lowest seed. See, it's weird because like Kansas City.
Okay,
Kansas City's little bracket is next to Buffalo. Like the winner of Buffalo Indy, I thought would play Kansas City, but I think they're still doing it. Highest seed will play lowest seed. So
okay, so that makes sense. So that means that Kansas City will if the Colts beat the Bills, they'll probably play the Colts. Let's see. Who's the 2? Buffalo. Who's 3? Pittsburgh. You know what's funny? I don't think they play the Bills or the Steelers in the AFC Championship game.
Who do you think they play?
I think it's either Cleveland or...
You're Looney Tunes.
I think it's Cleveland or Tennessee.
I don't understand you. But okay. We'll see. They're going to play either Buffalo or Pittsburgh.
No way.
Pittsburgh, they'll drop 50.
No way in hell they play Pittsburgh. I will put a crumble cookie box on Pittsburgh making it to the AFC Championship.
I'm not saying Pittsburgh's gonna make it, but I would say out of
I'd
the
put
teams,
you know what
I'd put
$100 gift card to Crumble Cookie that Pittsburgh doesn't make the AFC Championship game.
I do not want to bet on Pittsburgh, but that bet is so enticing.
There is
what I would do.
There is.
You know how many party boxes I could buy with that?
There is no way Pittsburgh makes it to the AFC Championship game. No way.
I agree. Yeah.
No way Pittsburgh makes it to the AFC Championship game.
I just think it's more likely that they play Buffalo or Pittsburgh than any of the other AFC teams.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
No way Pittsburgh makes it to the AFC Championship game. First of all, I don't think they beat Cleveland. But even if they do, they would play the better of the 2. So that means they'd have to play either Buffalo if Buffalo wins, or Tennessee or Baltimore. There's no way they beat one of those 3 teams.
I agree.
I think Pittsburgh is actually the worst out of all 7. I don't think they could beat any of these teams. Maybe the Colts. I think that their best chance would be the Colts. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are the worst of the 7.
You might be right. We're going to find out very soon. Very soon. But this is all a moot point. I would just like to point out that the best athletes in the world, Nikola Jokic and Patrick Mahomes, both wear the same number. That's all I'm saying. Was it planned? Maybe. Was it destined? Yes. So... That's all I'm saying. Who's the better quarterback? Now that's a debate. Maybe they should put that on Undisputed. Better quarterback, Jokic or Mahomes? That's all I'm saying. I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes throw it behind his head. Okay.
He threw it left-handed.
Jokic throws it left-handed.
Yeah, but it's basketball.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair statement. That's probably the truest statement you've ever said. It is basketball. That is correct. That's going to do it for us today on the podcast. Shout out to Kemp for always interacting with us on YouTube. Shout out to you guys for listening.
What's your Super Bowl pick? What's your Super Bowl pick?
Like who's going to win it or like who's going to play it in?
Who's going to play in it and then who's going to win it?
Oh, Kansas City's going to win it.
Okay.
But I would say Kansas City and I'm going to go Kansas City and I want to say Seattle because like you said, that defense is getting it together. I think it'll be Green Bay, Seattle in the NFC Championship game. I would say one of those 2 teams. I could see it being Kansas City, Green Bay, Kansas City, Seattle. I'll probably lean Seattle just because they're probably the better overall team.
Yeah.
But Kansas City. Nobody's beating Kansas City.
I have Kansas City beating Green Bay in the Super Bowl. Also, Kemp said 1 team from each conference. Who's the worst? I got Pittsburgh and Chicago.
I'll say Washington because like they're 7-9, so like
Chicago's 8-8, and the only reason they're 8-8 is because they started 4-0.
Well, okay, well they still have this 8 more than 7, yes. So by default, they're technically better.
Washington's better than Chicago.
I'm gonna go Washington, and I'm gonna go. Pittsburgh's hard to argue against being the worst team in the playoffs.
I think it's either Pittsburgh or Indy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm picking Indy to beat Buffalo.
I mean, who do you trust more? Like if.
I mean, that's the thing.
Indy versus Pittsburgh, I wouldn't know who to pick.
No, yeah, I don't know because I don't know how you can trust Phillip Rivers, and their defense has been kind of meh.
I might. Maybe Indy is the. Maybe.
But Pittsburgh can't run the ball, and they can't stop the run.
But Indy has Phillip Rivers.
I'm telling you, Cleveland.
Throw the ball to the other team.
I'm telling you, Cleveland's gonna beat Pittsburgh, and
Right.
I'm not gonna say it's gonna be easy, but they're gonna beat Pittsburgh.
Okay.
They're beating Pittsburgh.
Well, when they don't, I expect a full apology. So
go Cleveland.
that's gonna do it for us today. We thank you guys for listening. Yeah, see, Kemp's like Washington played in an awful division. Chicago at least played in a decent division. Yeah.
Yeah, but Washington's defense is better, and I like Alex Smith more than whatever quarterback Chicago rolls out.
Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
All right. Makes sense. All right. That's going to do it for us. Why do I always try to close the show, but I never can do it within the first 7 times? For Brandon Stoll on the other side, Kemp interacting with us on YouTube. Thank you, sir. I am Stephen Priest Jr. We will catch you guys on Monday. I need to record the intro because I